Israel, the only democracy in the Middle East. Jerusalem, the most hotly contested real estate in the world. Judea and Samaria, condemned by the world as the West Bank. You'll not see it in the media. Journalists try to hide it. Real stories about real people, fathers, mothers, children, families. These are the people of the heartland of Israel. Your journey with him continues with the Joshua and Caleb Report, stories from the heartland of Israel.
Yossi Maimon, this is incredible to be here with you on your front porch. I mean, this porch has some special connection for me as well, because this is where this was like where me and my wife came for our honeymoon. And so now to come back here just over 3 years later and to tell your story.
3 years.
It's been 3 years. Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Time flies.
It is, eh? But to tell your story, I believe is incredible, because I've been on countless tours with you and heard you talk about everything else here in the Shalom Room. But just the other day, actually, I was able to go on a ride with you and hear your story. And Josh and I, when we got home after that day, we were like, we've got to document this. This is incredible. So let's journey back here. And I want to hear how long your family has been here in the land of Israel from the beginning. I know you were born in Jerusalem, and then the journey from there, and now you're here in Beloofde Land, but start us from the beginning.
My parents came here from Tunisia, 1947. Wow. That's a year before State of Israel been declared. And to Tunisia, they actually wandered from Spain. And to Spain, they wandered from other places in Europe. Keep in mind that Jews basically were rolling around all over. And this is where basically was our last exile station, Tunisia. My parents, which was a very devoted Zionist, my father, who had a big factory in Tunisia, which made quite significant amount of money, on the very day that he got a sign that he can go to Israel, he did something which considered to be total lunacy. Came to his brother and said to him, "These are the keys of my factory. You continue to run it. I'm going to Israel." And he said, "You're going to Israel? What do you mean?" And he says, "I'm making Aliyah."
Wow.
Which means I'm going to Israel. This is where I belong. And he was sharp as a razor on this decision, which means nobody could move him an inch. And when the ship was ready, he just climbed on the ship, and everybody were crying behind, saying, "What do you do? What do you do to us? I mean, how we can continue?" I mean, he was basically the spine of the family. And he said, "Oh, it's very easy, just come." Come to Israel. Wow. And he made Aliyah. And after the war, he was looking for a house, and he found a house in a no-man land, which is in between Jordan and Israel. A house that had a roof. And roof in those days was something very precious. Yes, and this is where I was born. Wow. This is where I was born. And just to give you a kind of sense of what kind of life we had over there on the border between Israel and Jordan, my mother used to say that Jordanian soldier from a nearby position used to flash her with a mirror. There were places in the house that they had to duck in order not to be shot. This is the kind of life they had, but after 3 years, my mother just couldn't take it anymore, because in the morning the men would go to work and the women would be left alone. And it was very, very tough. After 3 years, my mother demanded that we'll move, and they moved to a different place in Jerusalem. I was born in Jerusalem. I would consider myself as a Jerusalemite. Jerusalem of those days is a small town. When I say town, I mean, a place that we used to say by 5, the place is shut down.
Yeah.
And everybody knew everybody. It was a small place, very, very far and dangerous, was known. Until 1967. 1967, when Israel liberated East Jerusalem and the whole West Bank, we've been thrown into a different planet. Because Jerusalem started to be built like crazy all over again, and from 60,000 people we jumped to today coming to million.
Yeah.
Coming to a million, you think about Jerusalem, million people. We are today 850,000 people, and the numbers keep growing. And that's totally different. Jerusalem of today, I mean, every time I enter into Jerusalem today, the first thing I'm doing, I'm looking for Jerusalem I know. And it's very hard to find.
How old were you in 1967 when the war?
The war broke out on June. On August, I had my bar mitzvah, which means I was maybe one of the first boys which had bar mitzvah on the wall.
Really?
And this is after 2,000 years that Jews couldn't do such kind of thing. I mean, when I did it, I had no clue what I'm doing. I mean, for me, it was, okay, so we're doing bar mitzvah. But today, every time I think about it, it's really, really very, very special. So I've been privileged, not because of me, as God decided that that's the way it's going to be. And it took me a while to appreciate. People don't understand what does it mean, war. And I was 18 years old, and I was thrown to Yom Kippur War.
Wow.
Yom Kippur War, today as an adult, yes, you have different kind of understanding of what was happening over there. But during Yom Kippur War, Israel actually arrived to a very, very uncomfortable place. Uncomfortable to a level that basically we got into doubts whether Israel would last. And under these circumstances, you're a young soldier, you're in a tank, people getting killed around you, you're killing people, you don't eat, you don't drink, you don't... Basics, bathroom, showers. And in a certain point, you think to yourself, what am I doing here? And at this point, you have to figure out who you are. You have to figure out who you are. What do you do here? And the first respond in me says, you just don't belong. You just don't belong. You just killed 7 people which have mothers just like you, and sisters just like you, and family and life, and who gave you the right? And my immediate response is, I do not belong. I just have to leave. Just have to leave. I mean, leave Israel. Give up the whole package. Go. Get yourself something else. But before I'm about to do that, which means defect the Israeli army and leave everything I was raised on, before I do it, I said, I need some information. So I went to the library. On my first vacation, I'll never forget, I went to the library and I started to collect books. All kind of books which would help me figure out what's going on here. About the Middle East, about Christianity, about Islam. One of the questions which hits me was, if you've been born Muslim, you've been there. You've been doing exactly the opposite. Who says you're right? Who says you're right? I never read like this in my life. We had the time, by the way. Yes. And I started to, all of a sudden, I got introduced to the Jewish history, to the persecutions, to the wandering, to myself. I I figured out, I realized that I belong to a family which is related to one of the last families that left Israel. The Maimonides is basically related, which I am related to. Maimonides basically is related to King David.
Wow, so you're direct descendant.
King David, and all of a sudden I realized that I'm the first to be born in Israel. First to be born in Israel after 2,000 years, the first to have bar mitzvah in the wall, the first to wear uniform and serve in an army that basically would not let Jewish get persecuted. Something which all along history could happen.
Wow.
And all of a sudden I realized who I am. The question of who you are is a question which sometimes people would live lifetime and would not figure out. And actually the earthquake of Yom Kippur War brought me to this understanding. I all of a sudden realized that I'm not just Yossi. I am part of something which is way bigger. And once I figured out of who I am, after I realized that I'm not defecting the army, but I'm staying. Not only staying, but I'm gonna do the best I can in my abilities to continue this phenomenon here on this land. From this point, I mean, you become different because there's a reason to wake up in the morning. You become different because if before I woke up in the morning because God knocked on my door and said, wake up, morning. Now, the difference is that I'm waiting for the morning to wake up in order to accomplish as much as I can for this phenomenon which is known as Jewish people. That's the major difference between Yossi that used to run around in Jerusalem before and the Yossi I know today.
That's an amazing story coming from, just the foundation you had being born in Jerusalem, the foundation your parents gave you, and the true Zionism, going and settling the land even from the beginning, going outside in the no man's land in Jerusalem to settle and to be a part of the restoration, and then walking that out in your young life, being the first to have the bar mitzvah there. It's incredible, incredible, incredible. One of the first, and then taking action and being a part of the military, I think is an amazing story that's leading. But I want to know what happens after the Yom Kippur War, and you what happened after that, and where did you take off? What direction did you go after you really got that Zionist foundation settled in your heart?
After I realized basically this kind of feel, when I realized that life are not about making money or having fun, getting tan. Life is about something which is way different. So I started to try to reach this goal. I was looking for what to do. And I met a friend that told me, why won't we start horseback riding business and give tours around here? And it's really sparked my imagination. I said, wow, what a great idea, let's do it. And we purchased 10 horses and we started to give tours on horses.
Yossi, when you went to Shiloh and you started and you helped to found Shiloh, really one of the beginning families there, what brought you here to where we're standing now in Malay Levona?
My horse.
Your horse?
Yeah, actually we were riding the horses in the valley underneath. At that time there was no road. It was just a beautiful valley known as the Valley of Shiloh. And in a certain point I saw this hill and I got very curious, and I turned to the group and I said, okay, you head back. I want to check here something, and I climbed here. I arrived somewhere around here. Can't tell exactly where, but I saw the view. I saw the view and I kind of went crazy, if you want to call it.
I can see why.
I mean, I was sitting here and I still clearly remember saying, turning to God, just the way I speak to you, saying, oh God, I'll pay anything you want just to build here a house. That's what I said. And I do remember that I said it and I sat here for a while. I don't know how long, I mean, maybe an hour. And then I left, just returned back to Shiloh and forgot from the whole story. Looks like God did not forget. Because a few weeks after, my wife comes to me and she said, I took a ride with two guys which were known as activists of Judea and Samaria. And they were talking about building a group of people to settle Ma'ale Levona. And for me, it was just like winning the lottery. Like somebody comes to you and said, okay, you made $1 million now. That's the way I felt. And Tu B'Shvat is the holiday of planting. We actually scheduled the tour. 30 families came to the bus. You couldn't believe it. I mean, 30 families came to the bus. The bus was packed. And we drove all the way here. And it was a great visit. We planted trees. I can show you the trees until today. These trees which we planted
How
in
long
this
ago would
holiday.
that be now?
It would be 31 years ago. 31 years ago. And now that we had 30 families, he said, fine, so we'll move to Ma'ale Levona on Independence Day, Yom Ha'atzmaut. And that's what happened. The rest is history, as they used to say.
What an incredible story.
So you were the driving force that pushed the founding of Ma'ale Levona. And then basically, I mean, from the stories I hear from you, it's like you lived and breathed Ma'ale Levona for like 2 or 3 years or something like that. I mean, it's like, I'm seeing the passion that's connected to what happened here and the dreams that you had for this place. So I want to hear from you, Yossi. I want to hear your dream of where you want to see Ma'ale Levona, where you want to see your grandchildren, where do you want to see the future of the mountains of Israel in the coming years? I mean, it's a big question.
It's a very big. It's a very big point. If you ask me, how do I see Ma'ale Levona for the future? So I would like to see the mountains around becoming communities. I mean, the potential here is huge. I want to see back again Arabs and Jews living here in a friendly way, the way we used to. I want to see the elements that disturbing Arabs and Jews from living together in peace disappearing out of here. This is maybe the most important vision. And I would very much want to see this place becoming back again a biblical land, the way it used to be 2,000 years ago, bringing all of these rocky hills to life, planting them with vineyards, which is your job, and olives, and all the other 7 species, and this is my kind of vision. I mean, it's not about the money. It's not about the money. We're living very, very well, but the money is not the driver. A driver is basically to get in touch back again with ourselves and God. If anybody would come 50 years ago and would say, a day will come and Temple Mountain will be accessible. You'll be able to go to Temple Mountain, stand on it, and see the very ruins of the temple used to be here, he would be hospitalized immediately. Take a look, it happened. If anybody would come and say, 100 years ago, that Jews, yes, will build an army which is the best in the world, nobody would believe. Nobody would believe. But take a look. These are facts which happening. If anybody would come 100 years ago and would say, Israel, this creature, which is going to be created by 600,000 refugees, 1948 will become a state of more than 8 million people, which will have the most advanced technology in the world and will sell technology to the world of farming, of every area you want, computers, medicine, pharmaceutical. Who would believe it? But it's happening. It is happening. It is happening on this land. Wow. And that's a miracle. That's a miracle which God basically conducted. And this is a miracle which we have to let people know about and come to witness and come to experience.
Oh, amazing.
And come to experience.
I'm blown away. You blown away?
Blown away?
That's incredible.
I am just a little pebble of an entire story which takes place all over around here.
It's an incredible story.
And needless to say that I'm so proud being part of it. And I really hope that whatever you are doing, which is so amazing and so important and so essential in the eyes of God, will take off and will continue and wake up more people to know about this place.